Okay.
Thank you, Claudia.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, so I'm Saarah Kuzay. I am a student wheat breeder at UC Davis. I'm almost done with my PhD, and I work with Allison and Krill-Brown on the Student Collaborative Plant Breeding and Education Project. Allison, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everybody. Allison, breeder, work on barley, spinach, and small grains. And so I've been doing organic breeding programs in different areas. And so when I got to Davis, we started organic wheat breeding program there. And so that's what mainly this is about. It's geared definitely towards organic growers. And so yeah, we're here to talk about trialing and how to get started growing wheat. And my internet, I think, is unstable, so just let me know if I freeze.
You're good so far.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Cool. So I'm going to just take on the first half of the presentation, which is kind of who we are and what we do. And we have this really neat experiment, participatory experiment for farmers that we hope you can join in on. And Allison's going to share the results for that and how to participate. Cool. Maybe enter, click. Here we go. So just a brief summary of what we're planning on talking about. We'll first kind of go over, for those of you who don't know, the general landscape of the California wheat market and what's most commonly grown. We'll also go over the UC, what the UC preferred variety list is. There are a few reasons why we have a preferred variety list now. Then I'll go over the organization called Scope that Allison and I are part of. Nice. So, as you know, we grow wheat all over the US. Predominantly, the US export market and market in general focuses on hard red wheat. This is wheat that you use for bread mostly and just like all-purpose flour. But as you can see, there are many different market classes of wheat. So we have wheat that's good for bread, for pastries, pasta, all kinds of different things. And California is really unique in that we can grow basically any market class because we have a really impressive series of environments. We have irrigated, rain-fed, and many different temperatures. So we're in a really unique position to grow just about anything we want. And the California market itself is still largely focused on hard red wheats. This is good for breads. But we do grow soft whites, which are good for pastries and whatnot, and durum, which is for pasta, or I should say Italian pasta. So most of the stats that we have available for California are focused on wheat varieties for bread making, and most of them are hard reds. So due to the fact that we can grow just about anything here, the UC A&R and the UC Davis labs developed this preferred varieties list. So this is wheat varieties on the market that tend to perform well all across the state and have very high yields and high quality. So because we're UC people, I want to highlight our UC varieties that we released. So from the Dukotsky Lab Small Grains Breeding Program. So there's Yekwa Rojo, Pat 1515, Central Red, which is the most recent release, and UC 1815. These are all part of the recommended list. So these are all mostly hard reds. Here's a hard white and a hard white. And these are kind of like safe bet varieties so that if you grow them and you sell out your wheat at the elevator, you're going to get a pretty good price and it's going to be high quality, regardless of where you are in California. We also have acceptable. Acceptable doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that it's a little less reliably good. And there are a lot of different sources for that. Pat 1515, the lower protein version is in this class, as well as fortunately the little thing is covering it. I can't see it. And Uric is in this class as well. It's not just UC varieties you can grow. There's also material from West Bread, Syngenta, Lima Grain, and Arizona Plant Breeders. So we're not just promoting UC, but a lot of UC varieties are pretty great and you should totally grow them. And again, these are the preferred wheat varieties for baking quality for California. And this was done in collaboration with the California Wheat Commission, the UC Davis Jorge Dukoski Lab, and UC A&R by Mark Lundy. So this is like kind of a very good generic list of things that you can grow that will probably give you some good quality wheat and a reasonably good price. But if you want to do something a little different, because we do have this neat flexibility in the state to grow a great diversity of small grains, that's what Allison and I are working on. We're not just trying to develop a generic hard red, we're trying to develop something pretty unique. So we're part of the Student Collaborative Plant Breeding and Education program at Scope. And we don't just breed wheat. We also work on a little bit of barley now, but it's a student-led plant breeding program that breeds tomatoes, peppers, zinnias, beans, and we might expand to a few other crops in the near future. And we recently just got an extension on our grant. So we're funded by the USDA, and we're going to hopefully have some really good varieties to continue releasing in the next 4 years. So what do we do? Like I said, we're a collaboration of many different entities at UC, mostly at the UC Davis Student Farm. We are kind of housed under the UC Davis Plant Breeding Center, lots of different professors and staff involved. And we are mostly focused on developing small grain varieties for artisanal food producers in California. And all the varieties we're developing are supposed to be adapted to Northern California organic farming systems. So this is just a pictorial preview of the season to come. This is taken a few weeks ago. We have a cover crop of legumes that was just recently, I think it was tilled in today, to create a nice rich organic nitrogen source for our wheat. We'll grow the wheat, and this is probably a picture taken in late winter, maybe in February or so. And then around June, we'll harvest. So it takes a long time from like October all the way to June to grow this crop. And for our program specifically, we're really focused on exploring and breeding specialty wheat varieties that have high culinary qualities and some cool colors. I don't have the colored wheats here in this picture, but so when I say neat culinary qualities, it's, really good bread quality, good flavor, good texture. We even did some tortilla tests recently with the students. There's a lot we're exploring that's beyond just a good performer. And here's kind of a very brief idea of what we do. So there are a lot of cool heritage wheats out there. This is kind of like heirloom wheats. And we look for varieties that have really great flavor and texture, whether that's in the bread or other products. And we're just recently kind of exploring neat color variations. So blue wheats, purple wheats, they're called charcoal, but I really think they should be called chocolate wheats, among other things. But one issue with these heritage or older varieties is that they tend to have lower protein, and organic systems have low protein. So we have access to this nice genetic material and technology to incorporate, using traditional breeding, GMOs, the kind of high protein alleles, maybe make them a little shorter so they don't fall over and lodge. And we now have a lot of genetic markers for disease resistances. So we can also make these older varieties more resistant to the newer diseases that have shown up. So that's kind of the basics of what we do for our program, and that's our strategy. One recent success is this new wheat called UC Amarillo. It's a yellow pigment wheat. And so this is my proposed jingle that has not taken off yet. So Amarillo means yellow in Spanish. So we could say, you see yellow, I see gold. I just need to say it enough so people believe me. And it's a really cool wheat. It's basically a white wheat that we introduced a gene from a wild ancestor that creates yellow pigment. So when you grow this wheat, it's got pretty comparable yield to the white original parent. And it's just more yellow. And so you get kind of buttery yellow bread. It's very, very beautiful. It's on the market already, I believe. The other thing that we do to make sure that our wheat is, oops, I'm seeing stuff in the chat. Oh no. Yeah, Lena needs to help us make the jingle, that's right. Another thing we do to basically make sure that the varieties we breed are successful is we collaborate with the local growers, millers, and bakers to make sure that the varieties we release perform to their standards and that they're unique enough and to kind of pick up on these neat traits that we're breeding for. So here are two collaborators, David Keisel, who's a miller and grower nearby. His business is very much expanding. He's very busy. And Nan Kohler in the LA area. And finally, we're in direct, constant collaboration with Claudia at the California Wheat Commission and the whole team involved in the Golden State Grains to kind of build the regional economy of California for California grain. And so part of our objectives is trying to meet that community's needs. And the last thing is all of this process, the entire time we're involving and training undergraduate and graduate students, such as myself, to become wheat breeders, food scientists, among many other things. You need a lot of different skill sets to kind of participate in this project. And I think it's just as much as producing a new variety as a product, producing trained people is another equally valid objective of our project. And I think that's it for me.
Yeah, good job, Saarah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I just want to, you know, we really want to develop varieties for this sort of non-commodity market. And so we really value the collaborations with the growers and the millers and, you know, growing what they want to grow, what they want to see out there, and what's going to, you know, grow well for an organic grower, but also mill well and bake well. So yeah, we just, you know, invite all the growers and millers to talk with us and, you know, talk with Claudia and keep open that line of communication so we can, you know, focus our breeding efforts to where they really need to be. Do you want me to go over the trial stuff?
Yeah, I'll stop sharing. There you go.
So should we ask the group here before we move on, Allison, if they have any questions for Saarah so far?
Questions, anybody?
Claudia, I had a question, if I could just
Yes.
relay it verbally. You mentioned the focus on Northern California. Can you be more specific in terms of the geographic scope of your work?
Saarah, please.
I guess it's whoever is willing to work with us at this point is deciding the geography of the scope of our work.
I'm curious how far south, for example, in the Central Valley or the Central Coast, would you feel comfortable?
Well, so we're, you know, we're looking at this, which I'll talk about in a minute, a wide range of material. So what we got was in collaboration with the Organic Seed Alliance, you know, about 75 lines from the gene bank that are spring varieties, but they're from all over the U.S. and they were adapted and they were developed in different parts of the U.S. So, you know, some stuff that would grow well here in Davis or in Central California, you know, it could not do as well in other areas. And there could be lines that would do really well in a different area. So we'd like to, you know, be able to kind of accommodate everybody. We're kind of, you know, limited in resources right now, but as we can grow this community and get people to trial varieties, we can have that information of what's going to grow well in different areas of California or, you know, other states.
Okay, so potentially all of California could be in play for some of the things that would be coming out of your program.
Ideally, yeah, that would be great. I mean, there's not many other breeding programs kind of developing varieties for these smaller growers or, you know, that aren't aimed to just make money. Where we're aiming to kind of develop more unique varieties and kind of to help the community, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and then a little geographic diversification doesn't hurt given our climatic variability these days either.
Right. We need that.
Okay, there are a few questions in the chat. So just to kind of capitalize on what Allison just said. So not just in wheat, but in vegetables, among other crops, there are very few breeding programs that specifically focus on breeding for organic systems. That's pretty unique to us in general. So, and when I say us in general, I mean not just me and Allison working on wheat, but the whole scope program that works on tomatoes, peppers, zinnias, etc. So these production systems are very different. So I do think we're adding some pretty novel environments, and we try to mostly work with growers that do have certified organic farms, although transition farms are also okay as long as it's organically managed. Elaine asked, is the recommended list just for conventionally grown wheat? I'm sure that a lot of these varieties would perform well in organic systems, but there's just not.
So, yeah, we've had many of them in our trials. They do very well. I mean, if they hold up in quality in multiple environments, and they've been tested for that, you know, prior to release.
There's only one caveat to that. So most conventional wheat is treated with fungicide, and we're learning that most of the modern wheats are not smut resistant. And so I think Patwin is pretty susceptible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would take that off the list of preferred varieties for organic systems.
Yeah, so that's also another reason we're looking back at these older varieties, because, you know, prior to seed treatments being widely used, you know, smut was something people were breeding for. So we're hoping to find some resistance in some of that material and be able to incorporate those into any lines we release.
Great questions, everyone. Thank you so much. So Allison, move on to your presentation, please. Also, and then we'll take more questions at the end of your presentation. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to go over, I think we'll send this, I don't know if this link has been sent out, or we'll send it out, or I could also put it in the chat. What we want to do with these varieties that I was talking about, the spring varieties, they're all lines that have been, they were released probably, you know, 70s, 80s, 90s, around there. So they no longer have any IP restrictions to them. But they were all very good varieties, you know, back in the day. So these are available. Anybody can test them. You can save the seed. You can trade the seed. It makes it easier for kind of testing varieties without having the restrictions that we do with some of the newer ones. So this is with the Organic Seed Alliance and the Scope Project. We're looking for farmers that'll trial some of these varieties. One of the big problems we have with trying to do on-farm trials with breeding material is that the equipment that most farmers have doesn't. Well, in the breeding program, we use smaller plot planters and combines, and so it's really hard for farmers to plant a small amount of seed if you have, you know, a few pounds of seed without having that equipment. So we kind of developed a way to test some varieties without the need for that equipment, and so we selected. What do we have? 16 of the best varieties we selected based on the agronomics in the field, things, you know, that didn't have disease, that weren't lodging, that looked really good. And then we've also been doing some quality work on these. So right now we just base this off of some of the quality that we have, which is we have falling number, which is measurement of starch degradation. And then we also have SDS sedimentation, which is a protein quality score. So we based, picked the 16 best ones. We tried to include, they're mostly hard reds, but we tried to include some whites. And I think there's a hard white and a soft white in there. And so how the trial would work. So this is the form, if anybody's interested can fill that out. And so essentially you can make some rows with your current tractor that you have, or you could just hand plant using, like one of those earth seed planters. So we'll give enough seed to do sort of 4 rows of a variety, and we'll have 2 check varieties, which is Patwin and Yukura Rojo. Patwin's the white and Yukura Rojo is the red. And so, you can plant these, evaluate them. We can help, in any way for, advice on how to plant. And if you harvest it and you don't have any way to thresh it, we could do that here at UC. And so we talked about smut and how Patwin is susceptible to smut. So all of these varieties, we grew these this year in a conventional field treated with fungicide, just to try to prevent any smut from giving you guys seed with smut on it. And so all of the seed that we send out will be hot water treated, which has been shown to do pretty well with treating the smut, but it also can reduce the germination. So let's see. Yeah, we're hoping, there's just that precaution. We know UC, at least where we do our trials at the student farm, does have smut in it, which in a way is useful to us as breeders because we can screen for resistant varieties, but then we have to be very careful about any of that seed not contaminating other fields. Okay, so the data collection part, we'll kind of ask just to, collect as much data as you can possibly collect. I know it kind of gets busy and it's hard to sort of collect a lot of data, but in the end, maybe just your favorite varieties, what did well for you in your area. I believe we're gonna get a form together to kind of help collect that data. Is that right, Saarah?
Pardon, for this?
Yeah.
So we have a few options available depending on who participates. We'll probably, once we have people sign up, have a growers meeting for that. But there's this really awesome thing called SeedLinked, where you can, it's basically an app on your phone. And I'm hoping we can use that so that we can send you reminders over your phone to check, plant height, look at disease, etc.
Okay, so yeah, there's some stipends as part of our grant that we got with the scope that provides some funds for farmers to do these on-farm trials. And then so there's just some basic information you fill out, when you would need the seed by for planting. We're gonna send it off next week to get started with the hot water treatment. So should be able to get it fairly quickly, within, before November maybe. And then if you need help with threshing, like I said, we could help do that. I know, David comes by all the time and brings some grain to thresh, so that's not a problem. So these are some of the varieties that we picked. These are all the varieties we picked. And we just did kind of a high, medium, low classification just to make it a little easier. And this is all based on, one plot in one field. Because we started with varieties from the gene bank, and so they give you 30 seeds, and we've been increasing these seeds the past couple of years to have enough to be able to do this trial now. So yeah, these are kind of taken with the grain of salt. It's not a replicated trial. It's just one plot. It's not as accurate as we'd like, but it's what we have to go on. So, we have the market class in here, we have the yield, and this is based all on the organic yields in the organic trial, which, yields tend to be lower than a conventional trial. Test weights, and proteins, which, protein is also tends to be lower in the organic trial. We do have the data we just took it on the conventionally grown seed that we'll be sending out to get for growers. But, and that protein is way higher grown in the conventional field than it is in the organic field. However, the seed looks so much healthier and better from the organic trial than it does in the conventional trial. So it's kind of interesting. Maybe that was, they were developed under more organic conditions, or, they didn't have as much things like seed treatments or chemicals that they used as much. And so, like I said, the quality here, that's based on falling number and SDS segmentation. Maturity and height are kind of self-explanatory. And so, in the organic field, we tend to look for taller varieties because weeds are a major problem. So these taller varieties definitely help get above the weeds. So we're looking for tall varieties that don't lodge, which is not common. It's usually you have a tall variety, it's going to lodge. Like a lot of the heritage lines, they're tall and they are a carpet when we go to harvest them. So yeah, so that's the list. So you can select, okay, there's more details about where they came from and other information. Then you can select the varieties you're interested in and just submit that, and we will get the seed out to you and work with you on setting the trial up.
Thank you, Allison. I just wanna, I wanna make sure we answer the question from Heather Crooker, I believe Clayton, so Clayton was asking about seed germination, and then Saarah was responding about that. But Heather asked, we're planting 2 acres of Yacor Rojo this fall. Can we still participate in the study even though we didn't the seed from you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And just use your own Yacor Rojo, you mean, or?
Yeah, I think that's what she means.
Oh,
Heather,
yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah, we just want farmers to participate, in any way, like even if you could just grow, 2 varieties, or just to get it started, kind of learning how to do a non-farm trial without all the resources of, planters and combines, really helping that figure that out.
Okay. And then Clayton asked another question that it's a good one, interesting one. Other than the stipend, will there be a buyback program for seed grown?
No, but you're welcome to sell it. I mean, we don't have that.
Not protected.
Set up, right? Yeah. You can sell it, you can share it, you can plant it again. That's why we choose these varieties, just because there is no, there's no IP on that we have to worry about on that. But I also want to point out the reason there's not a lot of organic breeding programs is that it's really not sustainable, because we try to get farmers the seed, and a lot of organic farmers save seed and don't buy seed, and especially don't buy seed from companies that have a lot of fees associated with it. So we've been working with Claudia and trying to find other ways to kind of get that seed out to markets in smaller quantities and sell it through, something like we talked about the whole grain connection, maybe that sort of model, how that you can, you don't need to buy, a ton of seed you can get a few 100 pounds of seed.
I just also wanted to add that there is a very finite amount of the seed available for each thing, and it's not the same. So I just want to emphasize again that this is a first come, first serve. So everything that you request, you might not get, depending on how many other people requested it. And as Clayton mentioned in the chat, yes, there is a penalty associated with the hot water treatment. And I guess to kind of explain why it's hard to answer the germination test is that because everybody, depending on where you are in California and when your planting window is, every batch of seed that you get will be separately hot water treated. So like, let's say you order Yoho Rojo, Patwin, and Oslo. They will make a small batch of each seed, hot water treat each one, and send that to you. So every batch that you get will be kind of uniquely hot water treated. So there's not like a standard germination test for the whole lot that we can give you.
Yeah, they'll just try to do it before you're planting, because there is, you know, you should plant it soon after the hot water treatment.
Are there
any other questions?
Yeah, any other questions for Saarah and Allison? Let's see the chat. Got it. Okay. I would like to say that it's pretty unique what you guys are doing. I always look at older varieties, or, you know, the breeding companies are often breeding and releasing more and more varieties, and then they get the royalties back by charging the grower. And what you guys are doing is basically making it freely available for growers who want to try it. And I remember seeing those trials on your fields, and there's some pretty nice looking wheats, and they with different colors, different shades of straw colors, and different heights and all that. So they're very unique. But I think what also adds to uniqueness to bring them back is that what you say, they also have some of those genes that are pretty resilient, that have been lost in the newer varieties, the mother varieties. But those older varieties, even by looking better when you harvest it in organic trials more than they did in the conventional, that also was super interesting to learn. So I'm really curious to see how they do these next year around.
Yeah, so I think, you know, we also have pictures. I don't know if they're up yet, but we'll put the pictures up. We took a picture side by side of the conventional seed and the organic seed, and some of them were like, is this even the same variety? Because, you know, they look very different.
I'm pulling it up now.
Yeah, I think everybody would like to see that.
Yeah,
like the conventional seed definitely has higher protein, but it's like shriveled grains a little more, and not plump. And
yeah, and there's a definite consistent color difference between the two.
Right. So in the organic, you can kind of tell some of them have lower protein, because you'll see like a different color within the grain, some lighter coloring, you know, than the pictures.
Yeah, sorry, it's taking a little bit.
So, you know, this would be a really good thing for like new grain farmers, I guess, that, you know, are interested in just kind of trying some varieties on their farm to see what kind of wheat grows well there.
Are there any other questions for Allison or Saarah, since you have them? They're always doing everything. They plant, they grow it, they harvest it. They're multitasking all the time. So if you want to ask them questions about even growing it, you're an agronomist, you're everything.
Yeah, that's part of, you know, public breeding programs. You kind of have to one-stop shop it. Yeah. So Jonathan asked, do you have any best practice advice for a new farmer? If you're an organic farmer, I would say definitely weed management is going to be huge. Like get your weeds under control. It's really hard in organics. That's why, so that, you know, this year we did put in a cover crop to try to help with that, which it'll also add some nitrogen into there, because we don't really add anything extra for the nitrogen.
Any book recommendations that you guys have? Maybe what we can do is think about it between you and Saarah, and then we can have it, we can send it to you guys in a list, because we have all your emails. There
is, I don't know who wrote it, The Organic Grain Grower. I'm not sure who the author is, but I think he's from the Northeast. But that's a good book.
While you look that, Heather is asking, okay, Clayton say I have that one. So. Oh,
it's Jack Lazor. Yeah. Oh, okay. That's the only one I really know about, you know, organic grains. But you can look at there's different other programs. Cornell has some information on growing organic grains. Illinois might have a little bit. I'll look and see if there's some more information we can find. So no-till farming, Heather asked about. We looked into that, and they did try some up on at Russell Ranch, which this picture in the background is Russell Ranch, one of the organic trials there. And it sounds like it's everybody that's tried the no-till in California, it just doesn't work well. There's germination issues for some reason, just like establishment issues. California's just weird, and things that work in the rest of the country don't seem to work here well. But that is something we're interested in kind of pursuing or figuring out how to get some sort of type of no-till working.
Durst Farms is a big proponent of no-till, and they grow a lot of wheat. Yeah, Fritz Durst.
But not organically.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think Fritz might have organic, but he does do organic actually.
He does conventional no-till.
Okay,
or he does organic as well, but okay. Organic no-till. I mean, without Roundup.
I see that. Okay, got it. Thank you for that. That's a good point. There's.
Oh yeah, University of Wisconsin. Thanks, David. Yeah.
What else?
Great. We have good resources.
Yeah, sorry, I'm still looking for that. We have so many pictures of wheat.
Okay. Yeah. So I would say there's another grower who I know, Ian Anderson, here in Solano County. But I think he also is the same. He's a conventional grower who does no-till. So yeah, you're right. For organic, it's hard. Yeah, I see.
And I think way back up in the chat, David asked about how we can more intentionally, trying to look for his exact words.
Yeah, if anybody knows anybody doing no-till, organic no-till, please let us know, because we would be interested in that.
They should totally do a trial for us. So David's question is, we're describing needs active participation engagement from the end users being bakers, brewers, and distillers. How can we bring them more substantively to evaluate what we're pursuing? Having enough seed has been, I think, our biggest challenge, right, Allison?
Yeah. We had just enough this year for Claudia to do tests on them. And next year we'll have more. And, also whatever the farmers grow on their trials, that can go to bakers to test or millers to test. And every year, we'll have more and more. And once we narrow down some of the good varieties, if we can get a good 5 or 6 varieties that we really like, we can do some larger increases to do some larger baking studies to send them out to millers and bakers. But yeah, so David, we were thinking of intercropping with thinking of doing chickpeas. We've tried clovers, we've tried medics, we've tried like a bunch of different kinds of legumes, and California, it's just, I don't know, it doesn't work well. But in the Midwest, that works really well. Intercropping with clover, overseeding with clover works great.
I guess we're unintentionally intercropping with a lot of brassica weeds.
Radishes.
Yeah, many radishes. Population planting.
Population.
Do you mean like a segregating population that you grow?
Or is that just harvest? All the wheat that you didn't harvest and got mixed together and regrew? But yeah, so we do have some populations we are working with. We also unintentionally did some sort of mixing of populations to see how well those grow together. Yeah, so we're looking at, we have, one main population uses male sterility. And so that's a big sort of it's just one population, but it's a lot of diversity in there that we're looking at. And so that can be used, you know, if farmers want to use that and kind of keep selecting that on their. So the issue with interseeding. So, you know, this is a practice that we used a lot in the Midwest and the Northeast, and it worked great, especially for winter wheat. You know, you plant your wheat in the fall, and then kind of at the end of winter, you overseed with clovers, and that sort of snowfall will help to get that clover up and going. And then, you know, once you I probably have some pictures, but once you harvest your wheat, you have this beautiful bed of green clover for the organic farmer. So we've been trying to do that here. We started with just some basics, you know, like red clover, white clover. They just don't grow, especially we're not irrigating.
No,
so we're using, and then, so yeah, last year we got, you know, a bunch of different kinds of clovers and medics to try. And, you know, some stuff came up, but you can see, you know, in the background of Sarah's picture there, we did some, what clover is that? It's
Crimson clover.
Crimson, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that worked pretty well, but that,
no vet.
I'm not sure how well it worked to really control weeds.
What you've got in the picture there, it looks like you'd have a hard time harvesting your wheat without, I mean, it looks like your clover heads are the same height as your wheat.
Yeah, the crimson we found was pretty vigorous growing.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as vetch, but.
No, and vetch is it's the other question. I mean, I've got a lot of vetch. My cover crop I'm trying this year, was just hoping I can terminate it in time. But yeah.
It's like my worst enemy.
Well, it's okay. It's mixed with rye. It's cereal rye as well. So I've got two challenges out there.
Yeah.
Kind of seasoned wheat blend. That's how you can market it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, this is part of the question on the population planting. I mean, I think there's a lot of argument to be had for this. You know, if we're trying to create categories that are unique and different, I think, from commodity categories, we should think about what are more efficient ways to get around some of these constraints that we struggle with, which are really constraints for commodity growers. So, you know, the insistence on absolutely pure varietals, I think, you know, if our focus is on flavor, baking quality, sensory performance, I think that frees us up from some of this varietal issue. I know certainly, you know, land races are some of my best sellers.
Yeah, and you have, you know, there's a few of the varieties. So we're trying some varieties from David, like Ardito has multiple different types of heads in there, and it's kind of a mixed population.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, then the question is like, what do we mix? You know, how do we?
Well, I mean, this is, I think we can go back to some traditional methods. You know, what's doing well in our microclimates, you know, in terms of yields, in terms of protein, in terms of
saving seeds and.
Right. I mean, it's pretty observational. I hate to say it. PCR comes out of the, we no longer get to use the machinery, but in some ways, you know, again, that's what we're trying to recreate here, some pretty traditional selection methods.
David, there's a question for you from Elizabeth Johnson. Land raised with different size seeds, how to clean? I
haven't found, in fact, I'm supposed to be cleaning seed right now. So, and I've been looking, I was cleaning one of my, I don't know if it's quite a land race, it was my Parcha, which is a Poulard wheat. And found that I don't have too much trouble. I lose a little bit of the larger seeds when scalping. I'm re-cleaning a couple of times, and actually that's what I'm doing right now is re-clean. And I found that my losses are not too bad. Basically, I'm, you know, what I'm losing on the throughs goes to animal feed, frankly. And I think it's just improving the quality of my mill stock.
Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, they're not that different. Size-wise, they're not all that different, to be honest.
Yeah, it's an old French variety from early 20th century, and it has about 20, originally had 20 different varieties in it. It's, you know, hard, soft, and everything. So,
you're talking about Blanc or something else?
About what?
Are you talking about Chittum Blanc or something else?
No, well, I think that's in it. It's the Montpelier Mega Mix, but I think the Blanc is in that. So, but it's just, I can't, it's absolutely delicious as a bread wheat, but I just can't see how you would deal with it as a...
What are you cleaning out of? I mean, it also depends what you're trying to clean out of it.
Well, it was cleaned by a professional cleaner, gravity table, and so. But if I was doing it myself, I don't know how you would need a whole bunch of different screens, and I don't know how you would do it.
That's how you do it, though.
So,
I mean, you know, you screen for one. You'd screen for one of your sizes. You have to clean for each size if you're just using a fanning mill. But you can use an optical sorter and get through a lot of stuff too. I mean, use the tool that you have and sort based on whatever that tool is designed for. So specific gravity for a gravity table, sort through that and then go back and resort, you know, your size categories. You'll have to blend it back together in the end. A lot of work.
I know. So
that's why it costs a lot.
Thanks.
I finally got the photo uploaded. I just wanted to quickly show the difference between the organic versus conventional. It's not like a stark difference, but you can see the lighter colored seed is from the organic field. So the organic field tends to make lighter colors regardless of the variety. We need a colorimeter to measure it. It's also more stark when you look at it in person. But in general, the organic seed is lighter than the conventionally grown. And I don't have a picture. Bounty was the most extreme example we had. But basically the conventional seed was completely shriveled, and it was a pretty good yielder in the organic system. But the seed was so bad from the conventional field, we couldn't use it in the trial at all. So yeah, that's just an example. And you can also see the chalkiness. There's like a little bit of this like lighter patchy pigmentation, which usually means, I believe, some lower quality protein. Is that right, Claudia?
Yeah, those are more like a starchy kernels, we call them. So that means that the kernels are also softer. And then the protein content that also indicates a lower protein content. But the quality of the seed still could be high because of, you know, by what you say visual, by having more starch. So they're more plump, they're bigger. Whereas the little smaller shiver kernels will have actually a higher protein content in general by difference. So, and it's slightly less of the endosperm, or I'm sorry, the starch component of it, which is the conventional one. So.
And another really cool observation we had, just looking at the quality data, and we'll basically in a few weeks, we hope to have the 3 bake test version of the quality data for this trial, that the sedimentation values for the organics was pretty high. I was like, I don't know, they were higher than we expected just based off of the protein quality reading, which means that even though you might get a low protein quality rating between like 7 and 10, the quality of that protein is pretty good. So if the hypothesis holds, even though the protein level, the percent is pretty low, it should still make a really nice loaf of bread.
So while I was going to ask Saarah, can you pull out a picture that you took for the sedimentation? That will actually help me explain what sedimentation is. So Sediment, if you don't mind, Saarah, I know you have
will.
really good ones. So, okay, sedimentation,
I want the blue wheat.
especially that. So sedimentation is a quick breeding test. Why? Because what it does, so you take the grain and you grind that into whole wheat flour, and you take a small amount, which if I remember correctly was 1 gram or less than 1 gram.
0.5 grams.
Thank you, 0.5 grams. So again, breeders will love that because sometimes what they have is less than 10 grams of seed. So that's really nice. So you grind it, and then you mix it with various solutions. And Saarah can tell you what solution she mixed it with because she did it. And the solution that is called the SDS, it actually helps to unfold the protein, and more like unfolding it as to uncoil it. Because the protein it's kind of a mix of things that is all coiled. But once you uncoil that, it actually is going to create a height. So it's going to expand. And what we're measuring here is the height of that final protein. And the higher that final protein correlates very well with a protein quality of that is. It doesn't mean that the protein content is high necessarily. It more means that the glutenins and the gliadins, which are the gluten forming proteins that are there, are high. So it's a very good quick method that can predict, without telling you the full story, if the protein quality is good or it's high or low. And if it's high, then we say it's going to be more suitable for bread baking. If it's low, then we're going to say that it's more suitable for pastries. I never like saying, and sometimes I have to correct myself, I don't like saying that a protein is bad. I like saying it's either high or low, because then it means always that if it's differences in the quality, then we need to find a home for it. So either we send it to a bread baker home or we send it to the cookie maker home. And this is the test.
Is this anything that could be done in just an indicative manner on site? I mean, do you need special equipment for it? I would give my eye tooth for a really generic protein quality, test for samples, obviously, in the field would be fantastic, and then confirmed through you all. But is this the kind of thing that might be able to be adapted for just a, like Mark's got his soil nitrates dipstick test. It's not real precise, but it's gives you an idea of where you're headed. It looks like this could be really useful.
Yeah, you don't need any special equipment.
Ooh, I want to learn now.
Yeah, no, we should totally do a demo of it. And just some cool facts about I'm assuming you can see the picture, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So this rack, I believe my boss, Jorge Dukovsky, when he was a postdoc, he made this. And he put the little sticker on there and everything. So we still are using the same technology from like the 80s, and it still works just great. So yeah, I don't remember the actual chemistry behind it, but so you just need to have some milled wheat. I think the hammer mill is fine, right, Claudia?
Yeah.
Or I guess a mock mill would be fine. Obviously, David, you're the miller. You probably can get all kinds of milled wheat.
Shouldn't be such a problem.
So you put in 0.5 grams into one of these tubes. You mix it with water. We vortex it, but you could probably just shake it up really good, X number of times. Let it settle, and then you add, I believe it's ascorbic acid.
And that's
so
what you do.
Yeah. You do. The only thing you need to buy is a solution that you can actually buy, and have it. For this, you use very little amount. And that's called, it's SDS, sodium disol something, but that's the only, and lactic acid.
Lactic acid, that's what it is.
Lactic acid. Indicated. Okay, I see what's going on.
Yeah, so you can see that the blue wheat, sorry. You can see that the blue wheat's here. This is like when I just added the water, and by adding the acid is what caused it to change color. Otherwise, normally this is not normal to see pink in your solutions. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, that's a good
Let's schedule a demo. That would be so neat to learn.
Okay, yeah, sure. We can do that next. Maybe we can figure out other tests that will be ideal for for growers to have.
Seat of the pants kind of stuff. It doesn't have to be, we're not selling to elevators. Again, quick and easy and local is the bigger criteria for me.
Yeah, and then once you measure, can you show the other picture, Sarah, please?
Actually, Sarah, I have a good picture here.
Okay,
you share. Let me stop sharing. I didn't have it on.
This is the one you had sent earlier.
Yes.
Oh,
so you can see that.
Beautiful. Yeah, so, okay, so you can see the height of, so that's the flour mixed with the solution.
I see, yeah.
So it actually is measured in millimeters. So that's what that ruler in the back is. So that's 1 centimeter, 2 centimeter, 3 centimeter. And you can see the one in the highest one is the one that reaches 5 or a little more. So we report that as 52 or 53 millimeters. And the higher one, it actually indicates the higher protein quality. And actually, when they told me that middle one, the pink one, had Amarillo in it, I immediately knew that was good because Amarillo has such a high quality genetics. So that's what it's telling you right there. It's a beautiful test. I love it too.
It's our blue Amarillo. We're gonna have to call it something else.
Well, Jorge told me of some of the Amarillos in with my population mix, by the way. We won't call it that, I promise.
Yeah, so that's any more questions on the test on the quality? So that's what they're using for the quality kind of like scoring that they're giving it. So the higher the better. But you see the small one is the number 7, so that will be a lower quality, indicative that that's more like a soft wheat. So that's better for pastries and cookies and crackers.
Yeah, and number 16, which is the last one on the right, that one is the control. So that's what a standard value would be. I think it's closer to a 3.1 or 3.2, which can give you an idea of how much better number 10 is, the really tall pink one.
Yeah, but also number 5. So you guys have some really good looking quality samples there. Even at a lower protein content, we're looking at a quality stability, which is with lower protein content, you could have that in certain varieties.
This is just so great. I mean, this follows what I wrote about and what you did in your video on Golden State Grains, Claudia, about defining, trying to define some other metrics for gluten quality rather than protein, because it's a struggle I constantly do with my retail customers to try to get them away from the idea that higher protein is always better, and understanding that that's part of what's contributing to a lot of the problems we see with commodity cereals, wheat at least. So it's kind of neat to have something as visual as this to think about.
Yeah.
There's a question from George Forner. Sedimentation tests are very good for evaluating genetics, but do you think it adds info for a grain lot beyond protein measurement once the variety has been characterized? Claudia, you would know that better than me.
More related to, so protein quality, it can give you a prediction of protein quality. And it I always say, like, in quality, we all wish we had that black box and that one test that tells us all. But so this is not going to tell you the whole extra or give you the whole picture of it. But it definitely can help just for the protein quality and give you a guidance as an early generations or earlier type of material that you're trying to segregate between high and low gluten quality. But beyond that, it doesn't tell you and give you the whole picture. And I would never really say that this is the only test a person should do. But, if that's all what you have and you ask me what's one test you will ask me to do, then I'll say this is the way to go as a test for testing the overall protein quality.
Okay, but I guess the question I have, and I don't know the answer, and it sounds like you have had some experience in finding that a variety that in one lot of grain production might have a high sedimentation value. You've seen situations where it might not have the same gluten quality in another lot. I'm familiar with using sedimentation to evaluate genetics. As you've described, a variety will consistently show good quality protein at whatever protein level is actually produced. But I was just curious whether you've seen cases where, okay, you know the variety has good quality protein based on its genetics, but you end up with a seed lot or a production lot that turns out not to have good quality, even with high protein. So that it still provides you additional information beyond what a protein measurement would, given the fact that you know going in that it usually would have had good protein quality.
Yes.
But the difference between testing a variety versus testing a specific lot. So if David's interested in understanding about a variety, then absolutely the sedimentation will be very revealing. I was just curious whether it would also be additionally worthwhile to him to do a sedimentation test on the specific grain lot, even though he knows the variety usually would do well in a sedimentation test.
Yeah, as a blended variety mix all together. Is that what you're saying when you say grain lot?
Well, no, I'm just saying that, as I mentioned, I'm familiar with using sedimentation tests to characterize a variety and to make a selection about a variety. I'm less familiar with its use to determine whether a load of seed or grain coming from a field has any particular quality of protein that goes beyond what you've already learned about the genetics of the variety, that you could also learn, okay, I know it has good quality, now I'll just measure protein, and if it's got a decent level of protein, I already know that the quality is going to be good. The question is,
how much that environmental factor affects the quality
of the sedimentation test that would pick that up, even though it adds value beyond just doing a protein evaluation on a known variety, I guess is what it amounts to. I'm not familiar with its use for that, and I was just curious whether it does add value once you already know, yeah, this is a variety that has good quality protein. Does it make sense to continue to do sedimentation tests on it on into the future if you also have an easier, quicker time just measuring protein on it?
Yeah, I'm curious whether the heritability for sedimentation is high. So
That's
because
a good way to put it. That's a very good way to put it.
You know, we could do this test on the conventional grain of these same varieties from the conventional field, where the proteins are, you know, by like a lot higher than, you know, it'll be, you know, a 9 versus a 15 protein.
So we have seen, I don't know, this is where you're going. I'm sorry, I'm not understanding what your question was, but I mean, I can give you an example of a variety that consistently been high, which is Westbred Patron. We have seen it as high as 17%, but the sedimentation only gave you 20, which is actually very, very low, and it's reflection of its poor quality, and that's consistent in the last 3 years or so that we have done it, and it has been grown under different places where we receive it.
Well, have you ever seen a case where it had a high sedimentation? That would be my point. It would always have a poor sedimentation.
For Westbred, for Patron, for example?
Yeah.
No, it has always been low.
Yeah, so that would be my point, that you wouldn't get any additional knowledge about that variety by doing a sedimentation test on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so there's very little environmental effect on that.
It gets back to Saarah put it very succinctly. It's really what the heritability of that is across different production lots, and whether sedimentation adds value to do it over and over and over again on future lots, or once you've nailed that this variety's got good sedimentation. It may have low protein, but it's still going to show for that given protein a good sedimentation value.
Yeah, I see. Great. Yeah, now I get
Yeah, or inversely, if you get a low protein value, it would be worth doing a secondary sedimentation test because that could more reliably tell you about the quality of that grain. I'm hoping that that would, if we can make a kind of a take-home, easy-to-do test, that would maybe be a better indicator than just the protein score, which is kind of misleading.
Yeah, no, I agree entirely. The qualities, especially for the artisan markets, may be more important than our historical proxy of using a protein value. That may be not a very good proxy for quality in that more discerning, more responsive baking environment.
There's a very long question from David. And I don't think we would be able to answer it very well because I'm not an agronomist. What is the influence of soil quality, culture, seed quality on grain? And whether it is worth using mediocre grain in a high quality environment. Is that essentially what it comes down to, David?
In hopes that it will do better because it's
yeah, easier just to do this live, I guess. Yeah, no, it's sort of a separate question. I'm just wondering what, this is sort of nature versus nurture question. When faced with the lack of commercial seed for a variety that I want to plant, and the only thing I have available at the moment is a mediocre quality seed grain. I'm just trying to get a sense of the relative influence of sort of good, what I know to be excellent quality soil and cultural practices versus seed grain that I know, the variety has its, like you were saying about the, whatever it was, the protein discussion. I know the variety is going to have its qualities, but how much of that can I get expressed by getting it into decent soil, which it may not have been grown in, is my concern. That the seed I have wasn't produced as well as it could have been.
But that seed is a good quality variety?
Well, the variety, yes. That's the point. It's capable. It's capable of doing well.
I guess, do you have access to better quality seed, but a less desirable variety? Is that the dilemma?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, the value is in the variety that we want. It's just that I'm not finding good quality seed out there in the quantities that we need. But I can get the quantity, I can plant the acreage with seed that just, it may be fine. I don't know. I haven't even done a germ test on it, but I'm assuming it'll, it's clean enough and
Well, to quote from the organic growers at the student farm, don't plant too much of one thing because if it's not great, you're stuck with a lot of bad stuff.
Yeah.
That's like
That's not fair.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to bring up the attention of John Egg in the same vein as David's question. What is the genetic potential of these grains from a breeder's perspective?
I think genetic potential tends to be the largest. I think it controls at least like 30% of your performance. Is that right, Claudia? Some people give it a little higher estimate, like myself. I would say 40%. And 1107. Oh, so sorry, I'll finish my answer. So yeah, the genetic potential controls, I would say, the majority of the performance of the variety. Obviously, environment, seed quality, and all that stuff affects it otherwise. But I do think that the variety you pick has the biggest insurance for giving you the best crop overall.
Yeah. Yeah, and I will add to that we have seen it, especially with growers, organic growers that we're collecting samples this year. They have grown varieties that are genetically, we know they're modern varieties, but genetically we know that are high quality. And we have received their samples that are like between 9 and 10% protein content. Because they're organic, they tend to have lower protein content, but the quality when we bake a bread was as good or sometimes even better than one wheat that was conventional at 14% protein. So that tells you exactly what Saarah is describing and what I call like genetic like stability, that regardless of the environment or the management, I mean, it's going to perform fairly well. So I would say the breeders have done an amazing job there because have given that strength to the variety itself.
And to answer what happened to UC 1107, it's just been repackaged.
That's Amarillo.
Yeah. So that one, Amarillo, is already being released, and there's some growers who are already been certified to grow it through UC Davis. I know at least 3 of them, Fritz Durst, Larry Kandarian, and there is another grower, Ryan Babb. So as soon as we have more information, what we need to do as a collaboration is basically help them find a market, because that variety was actually graded very low with the large conventional mills because it has the yellow pigment and they don't see it as being a potential wheat for them. However, the artisan bakers who have tested have rated as being really high and outstanding color because of its Amarillo. So that's where it's right now.
I think we're a little over the hour. Are there any final questions?
Anybody can just unmute.
So I don't know, Claudia, can you send the link for the form to everybody that registered, or send that out to the general Golden Grains site to do the trialing?
Okay, yeah, I can send it to all the people. You mean like from the email addresses from people participating?
Yeah, just the form from Jared to sign up for doing trials on farm trials.
Yeah,
we dropped it in the chat too if you haven't been monitoring, but it would be nice to
share that, get it out there.
Yep. Yeah, so I will send you guys an email with that, and then also you can share it with anybody else who you know. I know I received a question earlier from somebody from, I might not get this right, but it was from North Carolina.
Oh, yeah, you sent that to us.
Okay, and
yeah,
yeah, so I don't know, I guess for people in this call, I don't know if you're from other states, I don't know all of you, but what will be the answer if somebody from North Carolina, another state, wants a seed? Can they get it from you for doing trials outside of California?
I don't see why not.
Okay. Okay.
But I have some people I can connect her with that might be more helpful in that area. Like, you know, this Carolina Ground is the local wheat kind of contingent there.
Okay. And final comment I want to say before anything else, we all have to go. So David asked, how can we bring everybody together? I think if we want to do this, we can certainly, as Allison and Saarah provide us more grain, we can share it with bakers such as what you described, Josie Baker or Dave Miller, who can help us to do it, give us a feedback on their artisanal mill and baking and what they think about certain varieties. We can certainly do that with the varieties that you guys have if we have enough seed. And we can actually have a meeting where we can get feedback from them, and we invite farmers, we invite millers, you, David, and anybody who would participate in a similar manner that we have done it with the collaborators. We can have one for just these organic varieties and artisanal type of variety.
Yeah, we can put in some larger increases this year just to have enough to hand those out.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks. Good seeing everybody. Have a good weekend.
Thank you,
thanks,
everyone.
Claudia, for setting it up.
Yeah, thank you, Saarah and Allison, for your time. I appreciate it.
Bye, have a great weekend.
Kuzay.
Thanks, Saarah.
Bye, Mom.
Bye, Sarah's mom.
Thanks, everybody. That was great.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, David, it will be great to do that as a group activity. Oh, yeah. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Just, yeah, maybe it's format. I know the information's getting there. It's just, I'm always eager to hear what the bakers think on variety selection.
Yeah, so that will be next step. I think that's a great idea. We should definitely look into that once Saarah and Allison have done some seed increases. I think we can certainly send those because some of those varieties look amazing. I mean, I think bakers who, it would be great for flavor profile and something different.
Are we talking about the XPVPs or what?
Yeah, the XPVPs, the ones we're doing right now.
I mean, this is what happened with Amarillo with 1107. You know, Jorge gave me some 6 years ago, right? And I milled it for Davey Surkamp, who's a baker I was working with at the get-go, and he ranted and raved about it.
Oh, yeah.
And,
that's great.
You know, at the point, he was one of the only people that actually baked, you know, a commercial baker who had ever tried the stuff, and he thought it was great.
So I actually, David, I sent it to at least 5 to 7 bakers this summer, and they all rated really high as well. So yeah, and it has been tested. I just sent it a little bit to Kathy Turk, who is working directly with Larry Kandarian. And also, I'm eager to hear her comments on that. But yeah, I think Amarillo is going to be a great wheat for that market, and especially for 100% whole wheat, because it has those strong gluten characteristics. It creates a beautiful loaf of bread.
Well, this is similar to the Maparcha that I'm selling really well, that Poulard wheat, which likewise it's a, you know, it's a turgidum, so it's got the color in there. It's got, I'm sure, some similar genetics somehow. At least I know that color seems to track to flavor and a workability that's really appreciated by the bakers. So.
Well, it has a great story. It has
and it has a great story.
High carotenoid pigment.
Yep. No, I think it's a great product. So
okay.
Looking forward to, I'm writing Fritz right now. So
yes. Okay. Well, bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye.